Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Nick decks Matt on AUDRA'S $500,000 theft and name change. As Nick Newman deals with Matt Clark, also known as Mitch Bacall, AUDRA Charles's $500,000 theft and name change will be made public. Nick will run to Noah Newman's side at the hospital and make jokes with his son. Noah will discover that he was involved in a car accident, but he won't recall anything about it and will apologize for making such a big deal out of it. Naturally, Nick and Sharon Newman will be relieved that Noah is awake. Nick will ultimately choose to return to the shadow room and confront Matt after Noah is taken away for additional scans. Nick won't want Sharon to provide any updates on Matt to Nikki and Victoria Newman in the interim because that would also mean notifying Victor Newman. Because of the suspicion surrounding Noah's crash, Nick plans to inform his father that they need Newman security as a precaution because he won't be prepared to handle Victor's involvement just yet. Soon after, Sharon will be questioned by Nikki and Victoria, but she will be able to conceal the fact that Matt has reappeared. Detective Burrow will question Matt about the plot at the shadow room, assuming that things didn't go as planned. Mitch will encourage Burrow to be patient even though he won't enjoy playing catch-up. The way Mitch refers to him as detective and makes fun of his responsibilities will give the impression that Burrow is merely performing this police drama since Mitch gave him the command. Burrow will interrogate Sienna Bacall on why she called Noah's phone and why Noah's parents turn to her for answers when she interrupts. Sienna will become defensive and appear tense since Burrow will also inquire about the time she left the club that evening. Sienna won't understand the significance of Burrow's request for her address. Burrow will point out that the crash occurred close to Malibu Canyon when Mitch mentions that they live there. Mitch will claim that Noah was out of town, despite Sienna's attempt to pretend that he might have been visiting. It will be clear that Mitch is playing with Sienna and attempting to elicit a response from her, even though he will act as though he is perplexed by everything. Nick will eventually enter the nightclub, which will allow him to see and listen in. Nick will cut Sienna and Mitch, also known as Matt, off when Burrow takes off. Sienna will gape in disbelief when Nick decks Matt in front of her. On Wednesday's YNR episode, Claire Newman will pack her things in her hotel room and remember having sex with Holden Novak. When Holden arrives at the door, he will acknowledge that he doesn't want any future developments between them to be hampered by secrets. Holden will then reveal the information about AUDRA that Claire has been longing to hear. Holden's explanation will be accompanied with a fictitious flashback. AUDRA was a frequent patron of the shadow room when Holden worked as a barman there, and she introduced a man from the art world to the establishment. The man became inebriated and was unable to keep his hands off AUDRA when she ordered a bottle of bubbly to celebrate their partnership. Holden stated they had overserved the client and attempted to summon him a car after noticing and stepping in. The man threatened to fire Holden and threw Mitch's name around. AUDRA, meanwhile, grabbed the man's pocketbook and fled. AUDRA didn't arrive in a panic until the following day, when the man realized it was missing and dispatched several of his thugs to her home. Holden questioned whether AUDRA had taken anything from the wallet when she pretended not to have it. After pretending not to, AUDRA gave Holden the wallet and instructed him to appear as though it had been discovered under the table or in the lavatory. After AUDRA left, the man returned and obtained Holden's fictitious account. Sadly, AUDRA was lying since there was a $500,000 cashier's check missing from the wallet. Before things got out of control, Mitch intervened after the man lost it and accused Holden of stealing the check. In order to avoid being found by the man, AUDRA changed her name and fled town with the money. It turns out that prior to this $500,000 theft incident, AUDRA went by CORTEZ. Holden refuses to reveal the identity of this robbed man who allegedly owned a gallery, even though Claire will want to know. Holden would eventually disclose that AUDRA sent him $100,000 after it was all done, despite Claire's obvious desire to use the information as leverage. This implies that Holden will also fall if AUDRA does. The chaos in Genoa City is reaching a fever pitch, and the tangled web of secrets, lies, and betrayals surrounding AUDRA Charles, Matt Clark, and the Newmans is about to explode. What begins as a hospital reunion between a father and son will spiral into a night of shocking revelations, a brutal punch, and the unmasking of a scandal Audra thought was buried forever. The stakes have never been higher as the truth about a $500,000 theft and a hidden identity comes roaring back to life, setting off a chain reaction that could destroy lives and expose dangerous alliances. At Memorial Hospital, Newman will rush to his son's bedside, desperate to see Noah awake after his near-fatal crash in the canyon. For a fleeting moment, it's pure relief as Noah opens his eyes and weakly jokes with his father. The bond between them softens the edges of the tension that's been eating away at the Newman family. Noah's memory is foggy, he can't recall anything about the crash or why he was even driving through the canyon that night. When he learns how close he came to dying, guilt flickers across his face, but Nick brushes it off with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. The crash wasn't just an accident, Nick can feel it in his gut. Someone wanted Noah hurt, or worse, and every instinct tells him the man behind it is Mitch Bacall, the man he now suspects is none other than Matt Clark. Sharon Newman, ever the calm in the storm, tries to reassure both father and son that what matters most is Noah's recovery. But even as she comforts them, she can sense that something dark is looming beneath the surface. When the doctors will Noah away for more scans, Nick makes a quiet vow to himself, he's not letting another Newman become a casualty of Matt Clark's revenge. Not again. Before heading out, Nick stops Sharon and lays down a serious warning, don't tell Victoria or Nikki what's going on. Not yet. Sharon hesitates but nods, understanding the delicate balance they're treading. If word gets to Victor, he'll unleash Newman security, and things will escalate fast. Nick's not ready to deal with his father's brand of vengeance yet. Instead, he decides to keep the matter on a tight leash while investigating the crash himself. Meanwhile, Sharon finds herself in a tense situation of her own. Victoria and Nikki corner her at Crimson Lights, demanding to know what's going on with Noah's accident and why Nick's acting so secretive. Sharon plays it cool, pretending not to know more than the hospital updates. Her poker face is flawless, but inside she's rattled. Keeping a secret from two sharp Newmans isn't easy, especially when one of them is Victor's wife and the other is Noah's aunt. Still, Sharon stays firm, Nick's trust matters more right now. Back at the Shadow Room, things are getting more twisted by the minute. Detective Burrow, whose badge and authority might be more performance than reality, confronts Mitch Bacall about the unfolding chaos. Burrow is frustrated, accusing Mitch of losing control of his plan, but Mitch just smirks with that infuriating glint in his eye. The way he calls Burrow detective is pure mockery, dripping with disdain. It's clear that Mitch is the one pulling the strings, and Burrow is nothing more than a puppet in his game. Then comes the interruption, Sienna Bacall. She walks in with fire in her eyes and tension in her voice. Burrow immediately zeroes in on her, demanding answers. Why did Noah's parents come to her? Why did she call Noah's phone that night? The questions hit like bullets, and Sienna's defensive posture gives away more than she intends. When Burrow demands her address, she snaps, insisting it's none of his business. Mitch, ever the puppet master, slides in slyly, we live out in Malibu Canyon. That single statement makes the detective's eyes narrow. The crash happened in Malibu Canyon. The connection is suddenly glaring. Sienna's face drains of color. She tries to redirect, suggesting maybe Noah was on his way to see Mitch that night, but Mitch denies it smoothly, feigning confusion. It's a performance, and everyone knows it. He's toying with her, needling her, daring her to lose her composure. Every word he says feels like a test, and every glance between them drips with toxic history. And that's when Newman enters. His presence changes everything. He doesn't announce himself right away, instead, he lingers near the edge of the club, watching, listening. Every nerve in his body is on edge as he hears Mitch spinning his web of lies. The pieces start to click into place, the crash, Mitch's presence, the cryptic phone calls, this isn't coincidence. This is calculated. When Burrow finally leaves, Nick steps forward, the tension in the air so thick it's suffocating. Mitch greets him with that smug, infuriating smile, the kind that used to make every Newman in Genoa City see red. Before another word can be spoken, Nick's fist flies through the air and connects squarely with Mitch's jaw. The crack echoes through the shadow room like thunder. Sienna gasps and screams, "Nick, stop," but Nick doesn't care. Years of anger, fear, and heartbreak pour out in that single punch. Mitch stumbles back, wiping blood from his lip, his smirk returning even as his face throbs. "Still got that Newman temper," he mutters, taunting Nick just enough to make it clear, this war is only beginning. While chaos erupts at the club, a very different storm brews across town at Claire Newman's hotel room. Claire's packing her suitcase, her hands trembling slightly as she shoves clothes into the bag. Her mind drifts back to the passionate night she spent with Holden Novak, a night that changed everything. She can still feel his touch, his warmth, the intensity that made her forget her fears, if only for a moment. But now reality's crashing back in. Secrets have a way of finding daylight in Genoa City, and Claire knows one wrong move could bring hers tumbling out. There's a knock at the door. It's Holden. He steps inside, his expression a mix of regret and determination. "We can't move forward if we're keeping things from each other," he says softly. Claire folds her arms, defensive. She's tired of half-truths and evasions. When Holden admits he knows something about AUDRA'S, her curiosity spikes instantly. Then comes the bombshell. Holden begins to recount a story from his bartending days at the Shadow Room, back when AUDRA was still a rising name in the art scene, charming and manipulative in equal measure. In a flashback sequence, we see AUDRA at the bar, laughing with a wealthy art dealer over champagne. She's radiant, magnetic, and dangerous. The man she's with is infatuated, too drunk to notice her eyes dart toward his wallet every time he looks away. Holden watches the scene unfold with mild concern, until the man starts getting handsy and refuses to leave. Trying to defuse the situation, Holden steps in, saying they've overserved the guy and offers to call him a car. That's when the man, angry and belligerent, starts dropping names, threatening Holden with "Mitch Bacall will have your job." The moment the man stumbles out of sight, AUDRA lifts his wallet in one smooth motion and vanishes into the night. Holden doesn't realize what's happened until the next morning, when AUDRA shows up at his door in a panic. Her cover's blown. The man figured out his wallet was missing and sent his goons after her. AUDRA insists she didn't take anything valuable and begs Holden to hide the wallet for her, swearing she'll fix it. Against his better judgment, Holden agrees, telling the art dealer later that the wallet was found in the club. But the lie doesn't hold up for long. When the dealer inspects it, something important is missing, a cashier's check for $500,000. The man goes ballistic, accusing Holden of theft. The confrontation nearly turns violent until Mitch Bacall steps in, smooth and commanding, shutting it down. But behind closed doors, Mitch knows exactly what happened. AUDRA took the check and ran. Within days, AUDRA vanishes from the city. She changes her name, her identity, everything. The woman once known as Audra CORTEZ becomes AUDRA'S, reinventing herself as a sharp, ambitious businesswoman who clawed her way back into society. But that money, the stolen $500,000, was her golden ticket. It set the stage for everything she became afterward. As Holden finishes his story, Claire sits frozen, her mind spinning. This is the dirt she's been desperate for, the kind of leverage that could blow AUDRA'S world apart. But Holden hesitates when she asks for the man's name, the art dealer who was robbed. "You don't want to go down that road," he warns. Claire presses harder, her voice rising with frustration. Holden finally admits one last thing. After everything went down, AUDRA sent him $100,000 as hush money. That means he's tied to her crimes. If she falls, he falls too. Claire realizes just how deep this goes. AUDRA isn't just a schemer, she's a criminal with a buried past that could resurface at any moment. And with Holden now tangled in her lies, the fallout could be catastrophic. Back at the Shadow Room, Sienna is still trying to calm Nick down as Mitch smirks through the blood on his lip. Nick glares at him with a cold fury. "You stay away from my son," he warns. Mitch simply grins and says, "You think you can protect him, Newman? You couldn't even protect yourself." The words are a knife to Nick's chest. He lunges again, but Sienna blocks him this time, her face pale and trembling. In that instant, the web of lies is clear: AUDRA'S past theft, Mitch's manipulation, Noah's crash, and the tangled connections that tie them all together. Genoa City is about to be rocked by a truth bomb no one saw coming. And as Nick storms out, Mitch wipes his mouth and mutters with a chilling smile, "Round one goes to you, Newman." But the game's far from over. What no one realizes is that AUDRA'S past has already begun to surface, and the $500,000 theft that started her rise to power may just be the scandal that finally brings her crashing down. As night falls over Genoa City, tension thickens in the air like smoke before a storm. The Shadow Room's neon lights still flicker after Nick's brutal confrontation with Mitch Bacall. The patrons who witnessed the altercation whisper among themselves, gossip spreading like wildfire. Everyone has seen Nick Newman lose his cool before, but this time, something feels different, like years of buried rage finally broke free. Mitch, nursing his bloodied lip and smiling through the pain, watches Nick storm out with satisfaction in his eyes. He wanted this. He planned this. Once Nick leaves, Sienna rushes toward Mitch, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. "You've gone too far this time, Matt," she hisses, using his true name for the first time in years. Mitch's eyes flash dangerously, but the smirk never leaves his face. "Don't call me that," he snaps. "Matt Clark is dead. Mitch Bacall runs the city now." Sienna's hands shake as she presses them against his chest, shoving him hard. "You think you can just hide behind a fake name forever? You think nobody's going to figure out who you really are?" she spits, her eyes glistening with tears. Mitch leans close, his tone dark and venomous. "People can believe whatever story I give them, as long as I'm the one writing the ending. You should remember that, sweetheart." Meanwhile, Nick's rage still burns hot as he speeds away from the club. His knuckles ache from the punch, but he doesn't care. He calls Sharon on the way, his voice tight and raw. "Don't let anyone near Noah's room," he warns. Sharon senses the danger in his tone. "Nick, what happened?" she asks softly. "I hit him," Nick admits, his voice cracking with both fury and relief. "I hit Matt Clark right in the damn face." Sharon gasps. "Nick, are you sure it's really him?" "I'm sure," Nick growls. "He's using some alias, Mitch Bacall, but it's him. The way he looks at me, the way he talks. I'd recognize that arrogance anywhere." Nick's words hang heavy in the air. Sharon knows the name Matt Clark brings nothing but pain. The man once nearly destroyed Nick's life, targeted his family, and left scars that never truly healed. If he's really back, then no one in Genoa City is safe, especially Noah. At the hospital, Sharon hangs up, her heart racing. Moments later, Victoria and Nikki reappear, demanding more answers. Sharon does her best to deflect, but Victoria's sharp eyes pick up on her anxiety. "Sharon, what aren't you telling us?" Victoria presses. Nikki crosses her arms, her tone maternal yet firm. "You're protecting Nick again, aren't you?" Sharon sighs. "It's not that simple," she admits. "There's more to Noah's accident than any of us realized." She doesn't give them details, but the tension between the women is palpable. While Sharon struggles to keep things quiet, Nick returns home and pours himself a drink, pacing his living room like a caged animal. His phone buzzes. It's Victoria. He ignores it. Seconds later, another call, this time from his father. Victor Newman. Nick closes his eyes, knowing he can't avoid this forever. He answers reluctantly. "Son," Victor's deep voice rumbles through the speaker, "I hear you've been throwing punches in my city. What's going on?"